Unfortunately, a lot of people, and this might be you, so make sure you pay attention, screw themselves from the beginning, and they're not actually able to make solid progress in a language simply because they don't have the right mindset. And no, I'm not talking about growth mindset. We do talk about that a fair bit on this channel because it's important, but I'm not going to talk about growth mindset in this video. I'm going to talk about something completely different, and it impacts exactly how you go about language learning, which of course is going to decide whether or not you are actually successful in learning a language. So stick around to the end, because in this video we're going to talk about a lot of important things, and if you do stick around to the end, you will know exactly what mindset you need to have to make progress in a language, and you'll be all the better for it. So what I want you to understand is that all of these problems, things that you're probably feeling right now, are all the result of one thing. Whether you're frustrated because you're not learning fast enough, you're anxious because you feel like you're wasting your time on things that aren't actually helping you learn the language, you could be lost because you don't know what to invest your time into, you could feel demotivated, you could be procrastinating, you could be disorganized, you could be any negative emotion, which you've definitely felt most of these as far as language learning goes. All of these things are actually the result of one very simple thing, and that's because you are not a problem solver. This is so important to understand, and nobody understands this. I didn't even understand this when I was learning Italian. And once you do understand this, it is so much easier to feel emotionally fulfilled and to make progress and not get frustrated. So right now, whenever you encounter a problem, whenever you encounter something you don't know, you probably get frustrated, you probably get annoyed, you probably get demotivated, etc., over the fact that you simply don't know how to do that stuff. And you probably don't really do that much to actually fix the problem. So what I need you to understand is that when you're acquiring any cool skill, whether it's language learning, whether it's, I've given a few examples on here, whether it's fitness or whether it's money, it could literally be any long-term skill that's difficult to acquire. The whole process is problem solving. So I've put it into a table. Here is the desire. So it could be learning Italian or any language. It could be getting strong. It could be making money. It could be anything. The problem is obviously that this thing doesn't exist. The problem when it comes to any long-term goal is that you don't currently have it. If you already knew how to speak Italian and you want to speak Italian, congratulations, you don't need to learn the language. There's no problem. Obviously, this is common sense. It doesn't exist. Same goes with this. You're not strong yet and you don't have money yet. That's the problem. The solution is to solve the problem, and you solve the problem by doing things in sequential order. You find the micro problems that problem is made of and you solve it. So when it comes to language learning, we'll talk more about this on the next slide, but when you're a problem solver, you actually find the things that you're struggling with in the foreign language and you solve them exactly the way I'm about to show you. It's the same principle with fitness. You find what you understand what the desire actually is. Okay, you want to be strong. That means you have to be strong in all your body parts. That means you have to train all your body parts to be strong. And then you figure out how to do that, and then you do that. With money, it's exactly the same thing. You just figure out what you need to do and you do it. So bringing this back to language learning, how do we actually become problem solvers? The problem solver works backwards from the goal. So the first thing you need to do is decide on what your goal is. Maybe your goal is to learn Italian to reasonably fluent, maybe not native fluent, but you want to learn the language. It could be anything like that. Decide what your goal is. The problem is obviously that the goal does not currently exist. You don't currently have the goal. So then you need to identify what the problems are that need to be solved. So you work backwards. If you want to be able to speak Italian, obviously you can't speak Italian properly. If you can't speak Italian properly, that means if someone speaks, if you're reading something, if you're listening to something, etc., you can't understand any of that. So you need to learn those things. If you don't understand what any of those things are, it's because you don't understand the words, which means you need to learn the words, which means you need to go all the way back and just go from the start and learn the words that you don't know. So I'll explain this. That was a bit of a bad explanation, sorry, but I'll show you what I actually mean. So what I want you to do right now, or as soon as you finish this video, is to get your language learning notebook and make what's called a problem solving to-do list. So you're going to get a page of this book and you're going to write problem solving to-do list at the top of the page. And this is going to be exactly what you need to solve problems. So I want you to name 3 things right now that you're currently struggling with in the language. And don't say that you can't think of anything because you don't speak the language properly. I could name 3 things in English I'm currently struggling with. So if I can do that, you could definitely name 3 things. You can probably name 30 things in the foreign language you're learning. So it could be you don't understand verb conjugation, you don't understand inflection in the language because it's a bit different to your native language. You don't understand articles. You don't understand how to say words relating to days of the week. It could be any problem depending on what level you're at. Write down 3 problems you currently have and that you need to master to be able to consider yourself a speaker of the language or whatever your goal is. Then I want you to pick one of these problems and go fix it right now after this video. Don't procrastinate. I would have so much respect for you if as soon as you finish this video, you went and immediately worked on the problem. And this is a really great way to crush any emotional problem you might have, because as soon as you do this, all of the emotions we talked about at the start literally disappear. So here's what you would do. There's basically 4 stages. You identify the problem. We've already done that because you've named 3 of them. So say your problem is verb conjugation. You don't understand verb conjugation. You've identified it. That's step 1. Step 2 is to understand the problem. So you've identified it, great. Now you need to understand how it actually works. So what is verb conjugation? Why can't you do it? Okay, you don't know how to match the correct verb ending to the pronoun or whatever it is. Understand the problem, whatever your problem is. The third step is to find a solution. So research the problem, figure out what you're doing wrong, what you need to do right, and how you can actually do it. Okay, I need to understand, I need to make a list of all the verb endings and the reasons for which verb ending we use for verb conjugation. Okay, I've done that. And then I just need to memorize it. And once you actually understand the solution, then you execute on the solution. So you've written down what the solution is, then you actually do it. So if you've written down all the possible endings for verbs in Italian or whatever language you're learning, and you've put like the table into your book or whatever you need to do, you then memorize it with flashcards or whatever you need to do to get that locked into your head. And that is literally the process. It's 4 steps. Identify the problem, understand the problem, find the solution, and then execute on the solution. And you will basically solve problem after problem after problem, and you'll make a ridiculous amount of progress, and you'll cross any of the problems we establish at the start. You won't be frustrated that you're not learning fast enough because you're making progress. You won't be anxious because you can see that you're making progress. You won't be lost because you know exactly what you're doing. You won't feel demotivated because you'll be making progress. And yeah, you can thank me afterwards, because this is literally how you make progress in a foreign language. Nobody understands this. Nobody understands the problem-solving mindset, but I guarantee you, once you implement this, you'll make so much more progress. So guys, if you do want to make progress, I'd highly recommend you check out the Language Learning Accelerator below. Hit the subscribe button because it makes me feel better about all the work I put in to help you for free. Thank you for watching and have a good one.